Hi all. Today's class you will learn about critical analysis of concept, principles, theory and assumptions related to sustainable education, educational principle, schooling, curriculum, syllabus, textbooks, assessment and teaching learning process. Let's see one by one. First one is sustainable education. Sustainable education. What is sustainable education? It's about to preparing a generation responsible global citizens. It is based on the term sustainability and education. The term sustainability is derived from Latin word sustainere, to hold. It means a model of thinking in which the quality of life is improved through balancing the environment, society, and economy. According to Sterling, the necessary cultural change can be achieved through sustainable education. Sustainable education preparing a future generation to be responsible global citizen. They should understand how to preserve our environments, our facilities, and culture. Many of today's challenges requires a real shift in thought and behavior. Through sustainable education, finding a long-lasting solution through education, which will address social, environmental, and economic issues. Through sustainable education, which find a long lasting solution through education regards to environmental issues, economic issue and social issues. It also develop an individual with knowledge, skills and values and attitude. They need to address or interconnected global challenges like climatic change, resource depletion and social inequity. After sustainable education, the children should foster critical thinking, problem solving, and collaborative skills. It all needed in this complex world. Mainly, children should understand how to preserve our environment, facilities, or culture. For sustainable education, everyone should shift their thoughts and behavior to sustainable living. Principles of sustainable education, holistic thinking, interconnection of environment, society, economy, and culture, equity and justice. Sustainable education promotes social and intergenerational equity. It ensures inclusive and accessible education for all. Future thinking. It encourages long term perspectives and thinking about future consequences of today's actions. Sustainable education is learner centered. It focuses on participatory and active learning. Learners become change agents for sustainability. Transformative learning. It encourages critical reflection and behavioral change. Local and global relevance. It connects local actions with global outcomes. It emphasizes cultural relevance and community engagements. Sustainable education theories. One is transformative learning theory, Jack Mezirow. Learning as a process of critically examining beliefs, assumptions, and worldviews. After this education, the person should get critical thinking, and the critical thinking means they should examine our beliefs, assumptions, and worldview while giving any actions. Constructivist learning theory. Learners build knowledge through experience and reflections, suited for problem solving and environmental context. Critical pedagogy. Poloferi encourages critical consciousness and empowerment to change societal norms for sustainability. Eco-pedagogy, a form of education that stresses ecological literacy, global responsibility, and sustainability ethics. These are theories related to sustainable education. Assumptions of sustainable education. The planet's resources are finite, so we should preserve our resources. This education is meant for future generation to preserve environment, society's values and culture. Assumptions of sustainable education. Our planets have limited or finite resources we should preserve for our next generations. So, for these, we require a responsible management. Human actions directly influence environmental and societal well being. Education has the power to shape values and behavior towards sustainability. All disciplines and level of education must integrate sustainability principles. Sustainability requires collaborative, participatory, and inclusive approaches. Limitations related to sustainable education is it is often marginalized in mainstream curriculum and may lack practical implementations. Challenges it requires systematic reform and teacher reorientations. That's all about the sustainable education. We can move to next topic, educational principles. Educational principle. Concept of educational principle. Educational principles are guidelines that shape and direct teaching and learning practices. Educational principles as the foundation for all educational policies, curriculum, and classroom strategies, etc. Principles of education. Child centeredness, holistic development, equity and inclusiveness, learning by doing, democracy and participation, lifelong learning, social relevance. Child centeredness, what it means, education must focus on needs, interests, and pace of the learners. Holistic development, it aims to develop all aspects intellectual, emotional, social, moral, physical of that individual. Equity and inclusiveness, equal opportunity for regardless of background, ability, or gender. Learning by doing. Active and experiential learning leads to deeper understanding. Democracy and participation. It encourages free expression, dialogues, and critical thinking. Lifelong learning. Learning does not stop at school, it is a continuous process. Social relevance. Education should address real life problems and promote social justice. Theories related to educational principles. Constructivist theory, Piaget and Vygotsky. Learners actively construct knowledge through experience and interactions. It supports child centered and activity learning. That's all about constructivist theory. Next is behaviorist theory by Skinner. Learning is a result of conditioning through reinforcement. Emphasis, practice, and rewards. Humanistic theory, Maslow and Rogers, focus on self actualization and emotional well being. It encourages holistic, inclusive education. Critical pedagogy, follow Ferry. Education as a means of liberation and social change aligns with democracy, equity, and social relevance. Experiential learning, called learning through reflection on doing, support learning by doing and real world applications. Assumptions underlying educational principles. Every learner can grow and succeed with the right environment and support. If you get a better support, every learner can grow and succeed. Learning is both individual and social. It is influenced by cultural and community context. Education is not neutral, it reflects and shapes societal values and ideologies. Teachers are facilitators, not just information providers. Knowledge is not fixed, it evolves, and learner must critical and reflective. Moving to next topic, schooling. Schooling, concept of schooling. Schooling takes place in schools. It refers to formal and institutionalized process of education. Structured learning guided by curriculum, assessments, and certified educators. Schooling is typically organized by state and intended to ensure consistent and educational experience for all children. Principles of schooling. Universal access. Schooling should be available to all children regardless of their background. Standardization. Learning content and assessments are designed to be uniform across school. Socialization. Schools instill societal norms, discipline, and cultural values. Accountability. Schools are responsible for measurable outcomes in students' learning. Equity and inclusion. Education should promote equal opportunity and address diverse learner needs. Preparation for citizenship. Schools prepare students to be responsible and informed members of society. Theories related to schooling. Functionalized theory by Durkheim. Schooling maintains social order by transmitting shared norms and values. School integrate individuals into society. Conflict theory. Schools reinforce social inequalities and reproduce class structure. Education serves dominant class interest. Symbolic interactionism focus on classroom interactions, labeling, and self fulfilling prophecies. Micro level impact on students' identity. Critical pedagogy. Education can liberate learners and challenge oppressive system. Advocates schooling as a site for social change. Constitutivist theory. Learners actively construct knowledge. Schools should support this process. Emphasis student centered schooling. Assumptions of schooling. All children benefit from standardized school system. Schooling lead to individual and social progress. Formal education is superior to informal or experiential learning. Grades and exams accurately reflect learning and intelligence. Teachers are central authorities in knowledge transmission. The school is a neutral space for learning. Curriculum. Concept of curriculum. The curriculum refer to structured plan of learning experiences and content offered by educational institutions. It encompasses subjects, learning outcomes, activities, teaching method, and assessment strategies designed to achieve educational goals. Curriculum is a structured plan to achieve educational goal. Principles of curriculum. Relevance. Curriculum must reflect learners' real life needs and social realities. Continuity and sequence. Learning should build logically from simple to complex over time. Balance should cover cognitive, emotional, physical, moral, and social development. Integration. Subjects should be connected meaningfully across disciplines. Flexibility must adapt to learners' needs, context, and societal change. Learner centeredness focus on the interest, experience, and abilities of the learners. Inclusivity must accommodate diversity in culture, gender, language, and learning needs. Curriculum is a structured plan, learning experience, and content offered by an educational institution. Theories related to curriculum. Technicals or scientific curriculum theory. Ralph Taylor. Curriculum as a means to achieve preset objectives through structured planning. Constructivist curriculum theory. Piaget, Brunner, and Vygotsky. Learners construct knowledge through active experience. Curriculum must support exploration. Critical curriculum theory. Michael Apple, Paulo Freire. Curriculum reflects power structures and should be used to promote social justice and emancipation. Experiential learning theory, John Dewey. Curriculum should be rooted in experience and problem solving, learning by doing. Reconceptualist theory, William Pinner. Focus on curriculum as a lived experience reflecting identity, emotion, and cultural context. Assumptions of curriculum. Knowledge can be organized, sequenced, and taught systematically. A well designed curriculum ensures effective learning. Curriculum reflects societal goals and values. Curriculum is value laden, not neutral. Learners and teachers are active participants, not a passive recipients. The same curriculum may not work equally well in different culture or societal contexts. That's all about curriculum. We can move to next topic. Syllabus. Concept of syllabus. Syllabus is a detailed outline or plan of the topics, content, objectives, and assessments to be covered in a specific subject or course within a defined time period. Example, semester or academic year. Principles of a good syllabus. One is clarity. It should be clearly state learning goals, topics or timelines, and assessment methods. Relevance. The content must be related to learners' need, future studies, or careers. Coherence. Topic should be logically sequenced and connected. Manageability. Content should be feasible within the given time frame. Transparency must openly communicate expectations, criteria, and policies. Inclusivity should cater to diverse learning needs and backgrounds. Alignment learning objectives, content, and assessment must be well aligned. Theories related to syllabus design. Behaviorist theory emphasizes clear objectives and measurable outcomes in syllabus planning. Constructivist theory promotes active learning. Syllabus should support inquiry, project, and learner participation. Cognitive load theory syllabus should avoid overloading learners and promote deep understanding. Outcome based education syllabus focus on clearly defined outcomes and competencies. Communicative language teaching syllabus should integrate real life language use, not just grammar and vocabulary. Assumptions of syllabus. All learners benefit from structured plan. Clear objectives and content improve learning outcomes. Learning can be segmented into topics and timelines. Teachers can effectively deliver predefined content. Syllabus content reflect what is most essential or valuable in a subject. Assessment based on syllabus accurately measure students' understanding. Textbooks. Concepts of textbooks. A textbook is a structured, authoritative instructional resource used by teachers and learners. It contains organized content aligned with a syllabus or curriculum to support teaching, learning, assessment in a specific subject. Principles of effective textbook design. Curriculum alignment. Textbook content must match the prescribed syllabus and curriculum goals. Accuracy and reliability. Information must be factually correct, up to date, and verifiable. Inclusivity and representation should reflect diverse culture, identities, and perspectives. Clarity and readability. Language, layout, and structure must be appropriate for learners' age and level. Engagement includes visuals, examples, and activities to sustain interest, aid understanding. Pedagogical support provides exercises, summaries, review tools to aid teaching and learning. Adaptability should be adaptable for different contexts and learners' needs. So, textbook design needs visuals, examples, and activities, exercises, summaries, review tools, etc. and it should be adapted for different contexts and learners' needs. Theories related to textbooks. Behaviorist theory. Learning through repetition reinforcement. Textbooks often use drills, exercises, and quizzes to reinforce learning. Constructivist theory. Learners build knowledge actively. Modern textbooks include inquiry tasks, real life problems, and project work. Critical theory. Education can challenge social inequality. Textbooks must avoid biases and promote equity and critical thinking. Cognitive load theory. Learning depends on how contents processed mentally. Textbook layout, chunking of information, and scaffolding are important. Multiliteracy theory. Learners engage with diverse texts and media. Textbooks should integrate visuals, digital tools, and multimodal text. Assumptions about textbooks. Textbooks are essential tools for delivering standardized education. Teacher will use textbook as a primary resource for instructions. Learners will follow the textbook content for exams and classroom learning. Textbook knowledge is authoritative and neutral, often challenged by critical education history. One textbook can serve diverse learners group, now questioned due to varying needs and contexts. Textbook influence learners' values, identity, worldview through the way content is framed. Assessment. Concept of assessment. Assessment is the systematic process of collecting, interpreting, and using information to understand and improve students' learning. Assessment is a systematic process to understand and improve students' learning. It helps to evaluate whether educational goals and learning outcomes have been achieved. It always evaluates the learning outcomes have been achieved. Assessment can be formative for ongoing feedback and improvement. It should be summative for final judgment or certification. Diagnostic to identify learning gaps. Norm reference compared to peers. Criterion reference measured against standards. Principles of assessment: validity, reliability, fairness, transparency, authenticity, alignment, feedback oriented. Validity: assessment should be measured what it is needed to measure. Reliability: results should be consistent and replicable. Fairness should be free from bias and accessible to all learners. Transparency: students should understand what is being assessed and how. Authenticity: tasks should reflect real life application and meaningful skills. Alignment: must align with learning objectives, content, teaching methods. Feedback oriented: should provide useful feedback to guide students' improvement. Theories related to assessment. Behaviorist theory: learning is a response to external stimuli. It emphasizes objective, test based assessments, example, multiple choice tests. Constructive theory: learners build knowledge actively, promotes performance based assessments, portfolios, and projects. Sociocultural theory: learning is a social and contextual. Encourage peer assessment, collaborative tasks, and scaffolding. Bloom's taxonomy: cognitive level from remembering to creating guides, assessments, tasks at various thinking levels. Assessment for learning: ongoing assessment to improve learning, emphasis formative feedback and self-reflection. Assumptions about assessment. Students' learning can be measured objectively. Grades and scores accurately reflect students' understanding. Assessment drives motivation and learning. Standardized tests ensure fairness and comparability. Teachers are skilled in designing and interpreting assessments. Learners respond positively to feedback and use to improve. Teaching learning process. Concept of teaching learning process. Teaching learning process is dynamic, interactive and goal oriented exchange between a teacher and learner. A learner that facilitates the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values and attitudes. Teaching learning process, a learner acquire knowledge, skills and values and attitudes from a teacher. It includes instructional strategies, learner participation, feedback mechanism, learning environment, continuous assessment and reflection. Principles of teaching learning process. Active participation. Learners learn best when actively involved. Learner centeredness. Teaching must be tailored to individual learners' needs and styles. Motivation. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation drives effective learning. Clarity of objectives. Clear goals guide teaching strategies and learning outcomes. Feedback and reinforcement. Immediate constructive feedback strengthens learning. Learning by doing. Practical experience enhances understanding. Inclusiveness. Instruction should cater to diverse learning backgrounds and abilities. Continuity and sequence. Concepts should build progressively from simple to complex. Theories supporting teaching learning. Behaviorist theory, Skinner, Pavlov. It focuses on stimulus response, useful in drill, repetition, and reinforcement. Cognitive theory, Piaget, Brunner. Emphasis mental processes, promote concept mapping and discovery learning. Constructivist theory, Vygotsky and Dewey. Learners construct knowledge through experience, encourages group work and projects. Humanistic theory, Maslow and Rogers, focus on personal growth, emotion, stresses, empathy, respect, and autonomy. Social learning theory, Bandura, learning through observation and imitations, highlights, role models, and media. Experiential learning, called learning through experience, reflection, and action. Assumptions of teaching learning process. Learning is an active, continuous, and social process. All learners have potential to learn if supported appropriately. Teaching is more than a content delivery, it involves guidance and facilitation. Students learn in different ways, visual, auditory, etc. A positive learning environment enhances learning outcomes. Motivation, prior knowledge, and context impact learning success. Effective learning requires feedback and reflections. That's all about these topics: critical analysis of concept, principles, theory, and assumptions related to sustainable education. Sustainable education means a person should be responsible for futurist thinking and he is a responsible global citizen. Educational principles, it is a guidelines to shape teaching and learning process. Schooling, it is a formal or institutionalized process of education. Curriculum, structured plan of learning experience and content offered by an educational institution. Syllabus is a structured plan or outline related to topic or content in specified time. Textbook is structured and authoritative instructional resource. Assessment is a systematic process of collecting, interpreting, and using information to understand and improve students' learning. And finally, teaching learning process. It should be active, continuous, and social progress. A learner should acquire skills, knowledge from a teacher. That's all about this class. Thank you all.